Hey everyone, and welcome back to my completionist playthrough of Diablo 2 on Hardcore. And in this episode we're going to explore Act 3 a little further. However, we're going to primarily focus on getting a few levels, but all in due time. First let me show you that in between episodes, I've done some shopping with Farah and got us a few items. First, this 3 open socket large shield in preparation for Act 5 and the Ancient's Pledge rune word we're going to make in it. Then also some basic MF gloves that popped up along the way, but primarily this belt, which took some time. We could theoretically also get some nicer gloves or boots that would allow us to trade away some of our excess fire resistance for something else, but I didn't have the patience for that anymore. Maybe some other time. But about that belt. Belts at this point can have either 10 or 17 FHR from the balance and equilibrium suffixes respectively, but I wanted specifically the 17 one, which brings us to exactly 42 FHR in total. And going up from 25 to 42 makes us improve our hit recovery by 2 frames. So now we're at 9, which should make things a little easier for us. I would prefer this prefix to be lightning resistance, but this is good enough for now. Having some static cold resist outside of thawing potions is appreciated, and 17 is a high roll. I think you can get up to 20 here with the resistances. But also let us add Hawkmail to our collection here so it doesn't clutter our Horadric cube. And also sort our charms a little bit better, just like that, and we can also sell some of these items that we don't need anymore. And yeah, we're going to progress a little bit further into Act 3. But as soon as we reach the Kurast Bazaar, we are going to be able to get the official start of the next quest from Alcor. And this is something that you would normally never listen to, because under normal circumstances you just go where you need to go and get the book you need to retrieve for him. But in this normal playthrough, of course, we want to hear the quest speeches and whatnot, so as soon as we find the waypoint here in the bazaar, I am going to go back to town and speak to Alcor. Also, we have entered the bazaar from the far right. It is always the case that the entrance here is near the edge of the map, either on the far left or the far right, and the exit from the bazaar into Upper Kurast is always on the opposite side. So in our case, we know that it is going to be in the top left. It doesn't really matter too much for the sorceress, who can jump straight into Upper Kurast over the river with teleport, but for classes that don't have access to teleport, it is handy to know where the pathway is going to be. Anyway, I think we also passed by one of the temples, and that we're going to speak about in just a few moments, after we actually get this official start to the next quest that is going to concern them from Alcor.
Good day. It pains me to waste time with you, so I'll get right to the point. There is a very special book which you must find for me. It was written long ago by a sage known as Lam Essen, who studied Skatsimi magic and the effects of the prime evils on the mortal world. The Black Book was lost when the children of Zakarum took over this land. Now you must reclaim it without delay. Its knowledge may aid us in this dark time ahead.
So yeah, now we have the new quest for the Black Book of Lam Essen, and it mentions the 6 temples. There are 2 in the Bazaar, 2 in Upper Kurast, and 2 in the Kurast Causeway, but the tome is always in the same one, so we know exactly where to go. But we're going to talk about these temples a little bit more soon, but since we have Alcor here with us, let us also ask him if he doesn't have any opinions he would like to share with us.
I keep a library of tomes. Heretical, exegetical, hermeneutical, and pharmaceutical.
This is a decent one, but his best gossips are always about the other townspeople here. Anyway, we don't need to do anything else. Now let's actually go back to the bazaar and visit those temples. And this is not the correct one where we need to go, because this one faces to the bottom right. The one with the tome is here in the bazaar, but it always faces to the bottom left. However, I am going to visit all of these temples just for the purposes of farming some experience. They are good for that because they are small areas with up to 2 special groups that can spawn in them. So they are usually, quick to check. Once you have the maps explored, they are of course always going to be in the same place. And we are going to use them for our leveling session soon. Minor mana. Guys, give me something better. Okay, here's still the boss. Alright, not that experience rich, but okay.
need mana.
There are also going to be these entrances to the sewers. In this game we go not only through the Lut Galen sewers, but also we're going to have to go into the Kurat sewers, but I think this is going to be the material for the next episode. And yeah, here is the temple that we need to visit. The one not only with the Tome of Lam Essen, but also a super unique we need to kill, of course, Battle Maid Serena. Also, you might have noticed that I always immediately cast Frost Nova upon entering these temples, because it is pretty often the case that you can be greeted right at the doorstep by some dangerous special group. So, of course, getting them slowed down immediately with Frost Nova is a good idea for survival purposes. And here, I don't want to be too greedy with these statics, but I would like to... here's Battlemate Serena, I wanted to highlight her. Yeah, I wanted to weaken these guys before the Charge Bolt spam commences. Anyway, she is no more. And all we need to do is get the book from here.
Overburdened.
Alright, and we're going to deliver that book to Alcor soon. But yeah, we're kind of finished with the bazaar, and yeah, you can just teleport directly into Upper Kurast through that river, but just come on, get that teleport off.
I can't.
Alright, here is the normal entrance. We didn't have frost armor on, and that's why it was a little tough to get that teleport going. Also, there's a special group right at the entrance here, which is worth to keep in mind, because it should be here most of the time. After we, you know, remake the game and keep farming. Yeah, Lightning Enchanted, that's why he is taking so much time to die. Yeah, I think let's get our quests done. Stop blocking my TP. Replenish our supplies, and then we're going to be ready to explore Upper Kurast and visit the two temples in there. Oh, let's also drop these potions here for later. Alright, and now let's get this book to Alcor and pester him again with some gossips.
You have found the book. It should give all of us here some insight into the nature of the prime evils. Ah, but as for you...
May the Black Book bring a black day to hell.
And yeah, his reward for the book is, I guess, a potion that he brewed for us, and we just chugged immediately, giving us an additional 5 attribute points. So 10 life in this case for the sorceress. But anyway, one more gossip, please.
Ruttley's only good for making his silly magic weapons. It's not like he's got the stones to actually go out and use them in anything.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, Alcor. Give us more of those. Alright, anyway, now let's start playing seriously. I always had my mind preoccupied with different explanations that I wanted to do, but let's actually focus on the gameplay a little bit more and stop getting into these dangerous situations. Pretty poor temple. Yeah, these temples also have very similar names. There's like a ruined fane and a disused fane. There's a ruined temple and forgotten temple, and there's forgotten reliquary and a ruined reliquary. One or the other. Just want to find the second temple here in Upper Kurast. This is not it. Alright, here's our waypoint. Alright, and there we go. Yeah, these temples, you can get some pretty nasty monsters, especially the temples in the Kurast Causeway always stick out in my mind as being the most dangerous ones. They can have beetles and the Act 2 snakes. Yeah, this Conviction aura doesn't really matter all that much in these circumstances, but of course normally this is a major reason to enter caution mode. Yeah, so the Kurast Causeway temples, I think I'm going to visit just once to kind of showcase them. But probably we are not going to keep frequenting those temples in our farming sessions. Here's some beetles.
I can't.
Alright, we're done here in the Upper Kurast. I think we're going to progress to Travancore, get the waypoint there, visit the 2 temples at the sides, and then I think we're going to enter the second phase of our plan for this episode. Alright, archers, not too thrilled about encountering them, especially since that shrine in the middle kind of blocks the path of our charge bolts.
Impossible.
I think we need to go to town to kind of get rid of this annoying poison.
You have done well, my friend. Your courage and valor are an inspiration to us all. But now the time has come to face those responsible for the evil that has stifled our land. You must destroy the High Council of Zakarum. Long ago, these elders were charged with the stewardship of Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, who was imprisoned within the Guardian Tower. Through the generations, these pious men slowly fell more and more under the sway of Mephisto's malevolent power. And the Council became an evil mockery of its former glory. It is Mephisto's hatred that has corrupted Zakarum and turned its devout followers into paranoid fanatics. That is why you must travel to the temple city of Travancore and slay the Council. Once they are gone, Mephisto's hold over this land and its people will be broken. Diablo and Baal have surely found the temple city by now. They seek to free their brother, Mephisto, who was imprisoned by the Horadrim in the temple's guardian tower. You must reach him before his brothers do, and prevent them from releasing hatred upon the world.
Alright, so since we have progressed far enough in the act, of course Ormus starts the 2 quests, one about the council and the other one to get to Mephisto and end his evil existence. We're going to get to that when the time is right. But yeah, now we just need to continue on and clear out these temples, get this level up that we're very close to, and kind of be on our way. Yeah, these causeway temples stand out a little bit when it comes to their danger level on normal. Right, finally that level up happens. We can get a little bit more vitality and continue on our way, building up our skills towards Blizzard. Alright, those groups are still there, of course.
Impossible.
And there is some experience to be had, even though, of course, I have to stay more cautious around these monsters. It should be fine. Okay, our healing potions are no more.
Greetings.
Alright, Alright, let us finish our business over there. It's kind of a waste of time, I think, to... Yeah, she was also positioned in a tricky spot, so that these charge bolts weren't really reaching her that well. But we get a set amulet for our troubles. Probably at this point Angelics, maybe? What's your bet? Nothing that would be overly useful for us in any case. Although our current amulet is basically nothing, so we'll see.
Not enough mana.
Just a normal group of archers. Here we have some champions again. Yeah, nice and easy.
I need mana.
Alright, so all of those temples are done, and once we flagged the waypoint in Travancore, which is always in the same place. Is that a special group, or... I think just normal guys, however, they are plentiful enough. And these casters in the back, these cantors or hierophants, they can heal others, but they are usually not much of a problem if they are a... you know, just normal guys, or even if it's a unique group where they are the boss and these Zakarum fanatics are their minions. However, when you get a champion group of like 4 of them, just constantly healing each other over and over, that can be pretty annoying. Yeah, in greater numbers, they have some survivability, some longevity. But anyway, let's get our waypoint here, and I think this is going to be the end of the progression in this episode for us, and we are going to kind of move on to farming. Alright, Iratha's Collar. Poison resist, or 9 mana. Doesn't really matter either way. I think I'm just going to add it to our collection here. Although that poison is kind of annoying, that we can sometimes get afflicted by, coming from the spiders, primarily I think. But anyway, now before we start our farming to level 25, we're going to have to get 3 levels, so it's not going to be a long farming session. But, you know, in order to get an answer about why level 25 is so important and carries such significance, we have to kind of take a step back and talk about the leveling and experience system of Diablo 2 as a whole. So when we're out and about in the world and killing monsters, whether we get full experience or a reduced amount depends on the relation between our level and the level of the enemies we're killing. And if we're within 5 levels or so, we're going to be getting full experience, but as that level discrepancy grows, so does the experience penalty, and the amount of experience we receive gets gradually lowered. And in most cases, even if we kill enemies pretty far outside of our level range, it's not that big of a deal. However, there is one jarring exception in the whole system, and that is the early part of the game when we are below level 25. At that point, if we're killing opponents that are around 10 or more levels above us, we're not going to be getting the 60-something% experience that we would normally get, but just 5% instead, so basically nothing. Only by getting to level 25 can we lift that harsh experience penalty and get to the normal state of affairs. And being underleveled by so much might seem like a rare situation, but Acts 4 and 5 are generally a pretty big jump in enemy levels on every difficulty, and you usually end up being behind in levels compared to the opponents, especially if you progress through the game at a decent pace. It is normal to have to catch up on levels every once in a while. So there are 2 ways to approach this situation. The first one is to finish normal first, skipping most of the content and killing only what's necessary, and then farm up to 25 on normal cows. And the second way to go is to make a stop in Act 3 and level up here. And the former has 2 main advantages. The first one matters especially in the context of our completionist playthrough and all of the additional objectives we have to complete. By being level 25 already, we're not going to feel like killing anything in Acts 4 and 5 is a waste of time. And we're going to be able to fight our way through these acts, getting nice experience along the way, and having a much better time in general. And the second reason to pick this approach is related to what I've said a couple of times before, that charge bolts aren't all that great in those last 2 acts. But by leveling to 25 here, we're going to get access to Blizzard, which is going to carry us nicely through the rest of normal difficulty. And we're also going to do this leveling now for consistency and storyline purposes as well. Normally I would go to Act 4 for better potions, maybe even do Iswol for some for the additional skill points, and then come back here to Act 3 to farm those levels. But I think in our playthrough it is going to work out better if we just stay here, do the farming, and then continue with our progression normally. So let's remake a game and get to it. The general kind of way to go farming in Act 3 is to visit the Flayer jungle, slay some Flayers if they are nicely plentiful, and then kind of go to Kurast, visit the temples and even the above ground, Kurast areas. And that generally works fine for the purposes of getting those few levels. And I think I didn't replenish our potions like I intended to. I mean, it doesn't seem like there are any juicy groups here, but I do want to make one run through the Flayer jungle. We're going to change some of our settings in a moment, and then the Flayer jungle is not going to be as attractive anymore, but, just to kind of go through it, generally it is a nice area to visit, especially if you have Nova. And of course, killing the Flayers is a much more fun affair, much easier. But even now, they can still grant us some nice experience. Okay, there were some juicy groups over there. This is what we've been looking for. Especially if we can spam some charge bolts from the other side of the river, being pretty safe from the annoying swarming Flayers. Alright, come to Papa. Come to your death. Maybe I should say come to Mama Nasharin instead. After all, it's her doing all the work and suffering those stabby hits from these Flayers. Alright, a nice loop. Getting back to our waypoint, and now let's kind of properly refill our supplies here. Alright, nothing interesting. Let's get a few healing potions. Alright, now we're going to be ready. And now, before we actually progress into Kurast, I would also like to talk about the player's command that we've covered in the introductory episode, but this is a good time for a bit of a refresher. Of course, the player's command allows us to simulate a situation where there are more players present in the game, and with each additional player, the enemies get 50% more HP and 6.25% more damage and attack rating, but they also give 50% more experience. And also, there are 3 breakpoints when going up the players' numbers that are going to make the monsters drop a little bit more experience on average, and those are the odd numbers. The breakpoints are players 3, 5, and 7. So if, for example, if we go into players 3, this should allow us to maintain our killing speed. The enemies are going to have double the HP and 12.5% more damage and attack rating, but they are also going to give us double the experience and also a little bit more loot on average. By the way, those loot increases don't affect quality of the loot, just the amount they're going to drop. So here in players 3, You know, I wanted to go through the Flayer's jungle before that, because dealing with double health Flayers with just charge bolts is not going to be that fun. However, we are going to be able to go through the Kurast areas nicely and kind of kill some groups here. Alright, there's a unique group. We can also visit the temples, not the Causeway temples, but probably the Bazaar and the Upper Kurast temples, and, you know, keep getting some experience just to speed up the process of farming. Since, you know, this is going to involve us doing some pretty, you know, same runs a few times. Alright, dude, wait for me. You think I'm going to let you live?
Impossible.
Alright, nothing interesting, it seems, in Lower Kurast. But now, in the Kurast Bazaar, we're going to have the temples.
I need mana. Impossible.
Well, not that experience rich, this temple this time. Yeah. Anyway, let's check out the other one with Serena.
Enough mana.
I guess we have to use some Diablo 1 tactics when you stand in front of a doorway and just kill the approaching enemies. Well, in Diablo 1 you can do that one by one, but in Diablo 2 it's not as tile-based, I guess, as Diablo 1 was. Right, anything interesting?
I am overburdened.
Maybe a decent pike for a mercenary for later. So generally you can buy a decent pike in Act 4 for him anyway. Okay, another group, but if they're going to be hugging the walls like that, it might not be such a fun affair. I was just trying to see if the boss there had any dangerous abilities, but just teleportation. Yeah, these guys are going to be a waste of time, but since we have dedicated some time, some damage into them, let's just finish off a couple of these minions. But yeah, this is normally going to be a waste of time to try to kill such groups. Anyone low health enough? Alright, there we go. See ya.
Enough mana.
Let's actually go back to town and replenish.
Good day. Good day.
Alright, nothing that great.
I need
Right,
mana.
one of the temples was here. Oh, champion spiders. Alright.
Impossible.
Anyway, also, because of course this farming session is going to involve,
Not enough
you know,
mana.
doing kind of the same thing for a while, I also wanted to just share my plans for how we're going to handle farming sessions in this playthrough in general, because of course Diablo 2 is a game where you do from time to time stop to farm some stuff, either experience or particular type of item, and this is going to be no different. There are going to be some experience farming sessions, and of course farming for loot is going to be a thing as well. And generally my plan for now, my kind of first instinct about that kind of thing is to do it kind of off camera in between episodes, and then after a farming session is complete, you know, I would be able to provide a summary of what happened at the beginning of the next episode, focused again on progressing through the game. I'm of course going to keep on recording on my own in case I die or something else interesting happens. I do want to have the footage of that. But I don't think it would be too interesting to watch, you know, me do like 100 Nightmare Mephisto runs or something like that. But of course I am going to welcome any and all feedback if you'd like to share some of your opinions in the comments, you know, whether you agree or disagree, or if you have any other ideas as to how to handle those. But yeah, I don't think devoting a whole episode to something like, you know, farming an act boss over and over would be that riveting to to watch. Also, just to showcase something, I think we had something in the Dark Wood and in the Black Marsh. It is always good to kind of keep in mind and pay attention to the waypoints in Act 1 and whether you have any shrines near them. I think in our situation this is not going to be too perfect, and we're not going to really make use of that kind of thing. But if you do have the situation where sometimes, like right next to the waypoint, you can have 2 or 3 shrines just a couple of steps away. Yeah, I think this is a health shrine, so it's always going to be a health shrine. And they are kind of a bit of a different type of a shrine. But yeah, sometimes you can just go into a waypoint, just, you know, quickly check 2 or 3 shrines if there are anything useful, like experience shrines for the purposes, you know, of course, of farming experience, or skill shrines or something useful. And, you know, then you can use that for your farming session. Now here I just stopped by this gem shrine. I don't think we have any like notable gems. I'm just going to upgrade this topaz into a flawed one. If we had a regular gem of some sort, I would upgrade it into a flawless one, but oh yeah, and here I think also in the dark, no, I did the right thing here. I think we have a shrine, yeah, kind of 2 teleports away. I don't think they are going to be that convenient to check, but this is something to, you know, showcase the concept. Also here, I think in the previous run, alright, so we do have that guy. Should be spawning here pretty regularly in Lower Kurast. Well, he's lightning enchanted, so I'm not going to stay for the boss kill, but his minions provided us with some nice experience. We're almost at the next level already. Alright, just a normal group. Here we have something a little bit more juicy. Even though they are normal monsters, the Yetis generally are a pretty good source of experience anyway, and of course on Players 3, you know, that double experience matters even for just normal monsters. If they are, you know, plentiful enough, you can stop by and kill them, and it gave us a level. Alright, let's... okay, another special group of vampires. I'm not going to stop to kill them. Alright, and we're done with this one. Let's go and kill Serena. And we need one more level for Blizzard. And then our quality of life is going to improve in terms of killing opponents. I think we have to teleport back to safety a little bit, because Serena's group seems to be pretty aggressive. Alright, anything else down there? Alright, here we might have a special group. Yeah, they are here.
Impossible.
They are here again. I'm going to kill that Cantor first. Wow, he is so annoying. Alright, I am going to have to replenish our mana potions before we engage that group. I hoped to kill that guy and possibly finish off the whole group there, but it was not meant to be. Now we have not enough gold. And we have to pick up a couple of things. We do, of course, have some... Our net worth is not 0. We do have some assets in our stash that I want to sell for more in some later acts. But yeah, I would like to avoid selling them here and just pick up something decent here along the way. Was that anything? Okay. Nope. This is something. Alright, nothing else, it seems, but...
I am overburdened.
Damaged normal ring mail is probably not going to give too much gold, but... Anyway, let's pick it up anyway.
I can't. I need mana.
Yeah, here's the other temple. Alright, let's get into some more open space for these beetles. This is the beetles are the special group here. I did some statics in before to weaken some of them, but you know, wanted to keep myself on the other side of the wall just so that their charged bolts wouldn't be that dangerous. And here we just need to Tetris out our stuff a little bit more to pick up that axe. Alright, nothing too interesting. I think it's time to remake and continue on.
Yes?
Alright, that's something, that's... Okay, this is something. 13,000 for that barb helm. Now we're a little bit more comfortable when it comes to our gold, our financial situation. Alright. Reliable as always, Mr. Doom Ape. Again, you give yourself up, willingly as a sacrifice, to allow Nisharan to become a little bit more experienced. A spectral hit makes him a little bit more resistant to our charge bolts.
Not enough mana.
Alright, standard procedure. Checking the temples. Alright, nothing interesting there.
I need mana.
Is this temple really this poor? Okay, we do have some
Not enough
yetis.
mana.
Death Dancer the Dark. Yeti Dancer. With extra strength. Alright, there we go. Took some time, but the experience was also good. Oh, chipped ruby. Alright, I'm going to take it.
I need mana.
Okay, we're going to have 2 groups of these rogues. This is not Sarina yet. She's of course a little bit deeper into the temple. There's another group being pretty aggressive. Oh yeah, give me some mana so I don't have to go back to town to replenish our stuff. I don't want to be too greedy with those statics, but sometimes this is just stronger than me. I cannot resist. Alright, there we go, level 24. We're going to have Blizzard now. Very cool skill. I like Blizzard a lot, and actually
I am overburdened.
going into full Blizzard build for endgame farming is one of my favorites to do on a sorceress under normal circumstances. Of course, for this run we have different plans,
Impossible.
but we are going to have some fun with Blizzard for now. For around like 10 levels probably before we respec. So this is going to allow us to get a taste of how this skill works like.
Not enough mana.
Alright, actually, let's just get back to town like this. Alright, 100 vitality and Blizzard. There we go.
Greetings.
Alright, decent money for that. And we had something in... Oh yeah, this. I was pretty desperate for money picking that one up. But anyway. Oh, minor health potion. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Blizzard, because how this spell functions is a little bit different from certain AoE skills in other games, where when you point it to a certain area, its effect is not going to deal damage evenly into all monsters in that area. It is actually about the particular icicles, whether they touch some of the opponents or not. It's very similar. It's a very similar case to the druid skill Fissure with the rifts in the ground. So sometimes if you're luckier, monsters are going to get wrecked by these icicles very quickly. Sometimes it takes a little while before they reach them, and generally for maximizing your damage, kind of min-maxing blizzard damage, you want to kind of be dragging monsters through the blizzards so that they can have as many icicles kind of having a chance to reach those monsters. And of course bigger monsters are going to be more vulnerable to that type of skill than like little flares, for example. So even with Blizzard, I don't think we're going to go through the flare jungle. Even though we do have a pretty powerful skill active now. Alright, I'm not finding our ape friend. Yeah, sometimes I'm still going to keep doing Frost Novas just to reliably slow everything down. But yeah, now that we have Blizzard, we have finally kind of gotten through a little power dip, I guess. And now we can have a little bit more fun. Also, Blizzard is a cooldown skill. As you can see, it is red after we use it for a couple of seconds. It is not spammable, so when Blizzard is active, we can use charge bolts or static fields to just, you know, weaken the enemies a little further. This one is lightning enchanted, so I wasn't going all out with that kind of concept, but you know. Let's go inside, and now we're going to have some fun with these groups. Oh yeah, go right through these blizzards. Yeah, this is much nicer. Obviously, you know, for the last couple of levels we weren't advancing Charged Bolt, so you know, it is normally the case that it kind of loses its potency at that point in the game, and especially that was the case since, well, we weren't, you know, putting any points into Charged Bolts anymore, so, you know, it was kind of on its last legs when it comes to, you know, damage capability. But of course it still did the job done, but you can see, you can feel the difference now that we have Blizzard. Much safer, much faster to kill. And here I'm always trying to get this guy to just kind of go through the blizzard. Just keep on moving and walking into like potential ice spikes of that blizzard.
I can't carry anymore.
I do want that ring. I would like to get some a piece of jewelry with 10 FCR on it, because now we stand kind of in front of a dilemma. We have that Sorceress Orb in our stash that gives us +1 to cold skills, which would be nice for Blizzard, and then later also for Cold Mastery. It is going to boost, of course, all of our cold skills by 1, so it would be nice to use, but unfortunately we will lose 10 FCR and drop into a lower breakpoint of FCR. Which is not that big of a deal, but, you know, having that 37 FCR would be nice. Of course, if we lose the 10 FCR we have on our wand, we are going to drop down to 35, and unfortunately are going to have slower casting.
Impossible.
Which is something to consider, you know, whether... Especially like after unlocking Cold Mastery, if we still don't have any additional... Cold Mastery is going to be unlocked at level 30, by the way, but if we at that point still don't have any FCR, I'm probably going to switch to that orb anyway. But for now, I do want to have the FCR for teleporting, you know, for general quickness of casts. It is, of course, super good. Yeah, also the power of skills like Blizzard is that, you know, while it's in effect, we can just keep running, we can keep kiting, focus on our survival when, or whilst Blizzard does its job. We don't have to stand there and spam our skills. Alright, War Scepter has the potential to sell for some serious cash.
I need mana.
Right now, oh, no Thresher group this time. A little unfortunate, but...
I need mana.
oh yeah. I do want that skill shrine.
Not enough mana.
Yeah, you can even see from, you know, the visual whether they get chilled by the blizzard or not. Sometimes they kind of go through the blizzard but still are unaffected by the stalactites, I guess, or these like icy projectiles of blizzard. Alright, let's get all of that. Are you anything interesting? Nope. Alright, nothing special, but kind of a plentiful group. So I am more incentivized, more inclined to stay a while and fight. Yeah, archers are not going to be such a big problem anymore because, of course, you know, we can just put a blizzard in there, in that room, and just avoid them. Keep out of their line of sight.
I can't carry anymore.
Right, mana recharge shrine. That skill shrine was about to expire, and that's why I kind of swapped it over to the mana recharge. And this one boosts our mana regeneration by 400%. And this is actually a topic I wanted to cover at some point. And this is as good of a time as any. Basically, the mana regeneration is very much based on our mana pool, because our base regeneration in Diablo 2 is set up in such a way that regenerating from 0 to full mana always takes around 2 minutes. And of course, if your mana pool is small and you have like 60 mana, for example, that means that when it comes to exact numbers, you're going to be regenerating 1 mana per 2 seconds. But as your mana pool grows, of course, your regeneration also gets better. And then when you have a good base regeneration, all of these different boosts that can come from items or shrines are going to be that much more noticeable. This is another 15k item that I'm going to leave for later. But yeah, I'm kind of talking about that subject because the sorceress has this skill, Warmth, that you know, is one of the 1-point wonders. It's maybe a bit too big of a word to call it a wonder, but it is a strong, just 1-point investment for a pretty noticeable effect later on. Like in the beginning of the game, it basically does nothing because, okay, I think I've visited all of these temples then, so probably one more run. But anyway, Warmth, you know, basically at the beginning of the game does nothing because our base regeneration is so bad, but later on, once our mana pool grows through just levels and gear, and also when Warmth itself gets upgraded by plus skills gear, being not level 1 but, you know, a higher level of a skill, then it actually, you know, complements the sorceress's mana regeneration nicely and can be definitely felt. And it's just a nice skill, you know, just one point investment. Okay, here we have a unique group I'm going to stop by to kill. Alright, and we're out of there and into the temples again.
Not enough mana.
Alright, there we go. Here we have a special group. And yeah, next. Alright, another unique tool for our collection.
Impossible. I need mana.
Alright, level 25. Here we go. Here we come. Slowly but steadily we are getting there. I want that rejuvenation potion. Come on. Oh, and we have full space. Maybe that was why it was so problematic. Full inventory, I mean. Alright, unfortunately vampires again.
Not enough mana. Impossible.
Kind of inefficient group.
I can't.
temple in Upper Kurast.
Not enough mana.
We do have some champion archers, I think, down there, in that kind of narrow hallway, so not that great of a position.
Impossible. Impossible.
Alright, finally, it got a little hot in there.
I am overburdened.
I heard a charm in there. There it is. Really need some mana potions. I think it's time to reset the game anyway. Alright, last run. This is going to be...
Yes?
Cold resist 6. I guess it can stay for now. Okay, 6 all res from the amulet. I'm going to get that and swap out Iratha and add it to our collection then. Alright, here we go.
I need mana.
Let's get that level 25, shall we?
Not enough mana.
Like, it's not that necessary to be level 25 specifically, because of course we would get it along the way, going kind of through our last part of Act 3 progression. Oh, I missed the temple down there.
Mana.
Or just, you know, getting some experience in Act 4 and 5, but Act 4 you usually don't get a lot of experience at all, and, you know, it's kind of going to be nice to have this whole farming done, and then we don't really have to think about experience anymore for a long while. I think now that when we get... Alright, there we go. Now that we are level 25, I am going to put 5 points into strength to be at 30, so that the next level that we're going to get just along the way, we're going to reach 35 strength, which of course is going to be needed, well, 34 to be exact, to equip that large shield that we have prepared for our Ancient's Pledge runeward once we do a certain quest in Act 5. Let's just get this nice reliable temple with Sarina done. This should give us a little bit more experience, and then we're going to go back to Players 1 and kind of to our usual dealings when it comes to progressing through the game. You know, of course, the Players command here we have used just to speed up the process. Normally it would take us a little bit longer, of course, with opponents not giving us double the experience, and the fact that they don't have, that they do have, you know, double health, didn't really matter all that much. It was a worthwhile trade when it comes to the areas we've done here. Alright, so let's go there. Of course, I am going to put another point into Blizzard. And yeah, with this, we're going to be ready for our progression into the Durance of Hate next episode, and finally dealing with Mephisto, and you know, it's going to be fun. So for now, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, although it was a little extraordinary with the farming. Let me know if you have any feedback about farming sessions in Diablo 2. We still have some time to kind of make a decision on that front in that regard, because our first real farming session is going to happen at the end of Normal, where I'm going to do some Bale runs to farm experience. So, you know, we still have some time to deliberate on that, I guess. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.